It's here! The announcement of the year is here. VCT partner teams have been chosen. So obviously, congratulations is in order for the teams making it to partner. 30 teams in total, 10 from EMEA, 10 from Americas, and of course, obviously, the focus of our video, 10 from Pacific. Now, I have a specific group of people that I want to congratulate, and those are players who originate from APAC. I believe you are getting a massive salary bump. So, congratulations. You're rich. Jokes aside, though, I think it's a massive improvement for APAC players, obviously, especially for those from Southeast Asia, the third world countries. Stability has always been the focus for Riot when it comes to preparing and setting out the plan for this international leagues and partnership program. So obviously, partner teams get that. You know, they are going to be secure in the Valorant scene for the next 4 years at least, and potentially more if they do well in the next 4 years, right? What this stability is going to bring is, of course, more sponsors, because now the flow of the next 4 years in the Valorant scene is going to be predictable, so sponsors will have an easier time to decide whether they want to attach themselves to a team or not. And of course, for the teams themselves, they're also going to have a relatively easier time to make decisions, right? Not for the admins, though, because Riot is going to make every team go through them for any decisions related to the international leagues. But we'll talk about that some other time. Now, the other thing, of course, is a direct working relationship with Riot, and I think this is very important. The support that the teams are getting from Riot is also huge, right? We've heard of them promising teams a stipend that ranges from $600,000 to $1 million. I don't know how that works. There's no official statement about that just yet. But one of the other things that I think is even more exciting is the content production collaboration with Riot themselves, okay? This is one of the biggest focuses since forever for Riot. You know, they care about the art form. They care about the entertainment aspect of VCT. And so it's going to be even more highlighted in 2023. I'm ready for Team Skins. Now, with that announcement, I'm sure we have questions, right? And I've identified 10 big questions that I think we should ask ourselves. And this is something that we should take a close look at while we observe the development of the international leagues and the 2023 VCT, because that might give us a preview of what the Valorant scene is going to be like in the future and how well it's going to do. So, why don't we start with the first question? And that is, what happens now to the non-partner teams and non-partner team players? As you can see, there are tons of LFT posts sprouting up on Twitter and other social media platforms, signaling the beginning of the Great Shuffle, which I think is a better name than Roaster Mania. The non-partner teams have known for some time that if they don't make it as partner, they're kind of fucked. So they're probably still considering remaining in Valorant and continue to field a Valorant roster, but while weighing options, some teams have decided to release their Valorant roster until further notice, or are kind enough to let their players explore partner team opportunities. As a result, a lot of players are left without a confirmed home in 2023, including El Diablo himself. Off of his tweet, I'd like to raise a point that no one is safe. What do I mean when I say no one is safe? Well, teams will be looking to build the best teams by sourcing for the best players from around the world. Now, at the same time, because of this announcement, because of the abundance of LFT posts, there is an oversupply of talents in the Valorant community, and it's all available in the market. So teams will have to make a really, really tough choice when choosing who to sign next. for everyone, be it those players who are already in a newly announced partner team and those who've entered free agency. I have questions for you. Are you sure you deserve to be one of the chosen ones? Can you prove that? How do you prove that? I think it's important to have answers for those questions because starting from the partner team announcements, everybody in the world is competing for the same 150 spots in the international leagues. And one of those 150 spots is already filled by Yay. Because, come on, who wouldn't want to sign Yay? And if I'm being real with you, there's probably like 60 to 80% of those slots that are already filled by Masters and Champions players. So you have to be able to demonstrate your value. And if you don't have a concrete answer to those questions I asked you, you better start now. I understand it'll be a stressful period while waiting for answers on whether you'll end up in a partner team or a challengers team, but what I can tell you is that there's always a chance that's going to open up to you if you work for it. There are transfer windows set in the leagues. You do have a chance to qualify through Ascension, albeit a slim one. But you got to grab what you can, right? So stay strong, stay focused. Good luck. On to our second question. Will the Tier 2 survive? Well, the way I think about it, there's a lower limit as to how much the Tier 2 can tank or decline before the scene just outright dies. We need enough orgs to stay in the scene, and we need them to stay so that we can have a healthy ecosystem and we can make sure that there's a regeneration for players in the future. We need a robust system for the Tier 2, and the onus is on Riot to show us what they've prepared for the orgs and players in the Tier 2 scene. And so there are questions like, how big are the prize pools for challengers and Ascension? Is it going to be enough for orgs and players to stay and sustain themselves in the Tier 2? What else do Riot have to offer these orgs and players so that they will be convinced that they can live off of the Tier 2 scene? And it needs to be something enough to prevent an exodus. We don't want the talented Tier 2 players to leave the game. So for now, all we can do is really just trust Riot and have patience until they release further details on challengers. Now, this is where it gets a little bit more fun, okay? Will RRQ field an Indonesian or Filipino roster? This has been a hot topic since RRQ tweeted with an Indonesian flag emoji on the other day. And some say they're moving back. Some say they're actually going to stay. Some say they're going to mix. Even a leak suggested it. My guess is they're going to go with a mix, since they're representing the Indonesian flag. But at the same time, they've also established operations in the Philippines. Although, I have to say, the option to have a full roster of the same nationality players is more attractive. And if RRQ have to choose between Philippines and Indonesia, I think we know where they're going to go. If that's the case, then the next question is naturally, who should be in the Indonesian super team? Now, I did an exercise yesterday leading to these 8 players as my pick. My reasoning is that these players have proved themselves and have different pieces to fit the evolving puzzle that is the super team. And again, this is by no means a perfect list, and I'm sure this list will change maybe even tomorrow or next week or next year, I don't know. But I believe this can be a pretty good start to kickstart the discussion of who should be in the Indonesian super team. There's also the fact that Talon is representing Thailand now. So question number 5 is, will they take the full XERXIA roster? Now, something interesting is that Cruz tweeted that he's not ready to retire just yet, and this might be opening up the possibility that the full XERXIA roster might just transfer over to Talon if they want them. However, as we've mentioned before, Talon is now interested to build the best team possible, and they're not restricted to having only Thai players. Sure, they'll probably have a Thai majority team, but they're also going to be open to signing on other players outside of the XERXIA roster. Question number 6. What is the player count cap in an international league team? Now, there is one information that's very important that came from a supposedly leaked rule set for a roster construction rules in the 2023 VCT season. And it says that the limit for how many players a team can field, including reserve members, is 10. So really the question is it a good idea to have 10 players in an international league team? Because in my mind, it'll be hell for you to manage 10 players, and I barely survived managing 6. Maybe there are other coaches and managements that can deal with 10 players, but I personally think it's going to be a waste of resources. It's going to be a waste of time. It's not efficient. So I'd say there's going to be very, very few teams who are going to go for the full 10, 5 starting players and 5 reserve players. The other interesting thing is it also says in the rule set that there's a maximum of 3 coaches allowed. And in this 3 coaches role, there's one that needs to be designated as the head coach. And my question is, are analysts counted between these 3 coaches? If not, then is it possible for a team to have 69 analysts to help these 3 coaches as long as they've designated 3 coaches for the main roster? Question number 7 is there a home region restriction in building a team in the international leagues? Well, again, referring to the rule set, it does say there that the max number of players from outside of a league territory is 1. A league territory is defined as countries and regions within a specified league. So, for example, Brazil and North America is, of course, included in the Americas league territory. Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Philippines, Korea, and Japan, they're all included in the Pacific League. So what it says in the rule book is that there needs to be a minimum of 4 players from those countries, and you can have at most 1 player from outside of the Pacific region. But there's good news for Game Changers players. I think if I didn't misinterpret the rule set, you are exempted from this rule. So in my mind, I'm thinking there is a possibility for Mel from Cloud9 to play with 3 PaperX players alongside Ye. So I might be wrong about this, which I'm now thinking I'm probably 100% sure that I'm wrong about this. But hey, it's a fun idea. We are on now to question number 8. Will there be poaching? The reason I asked this is I'm worried for teams who are going to be competing in challengers, hoping to go through to the international leagues through Ascension, because, again, challengers and international leagues are going to happen at the same time. And within the international leagues, there will be a transfer window mid-season where the teams are allowed to sign on free agents, right? Now, how does this work in relation to players who are competing in the challenger circuit? Because in theory, it's possible that players in the challenger circuit are very willing to be picked up by a partner team in the middle of the challenger circuit happening. So my question is that a possibility? And if yes, how do challenger teams expect to stay with the same 5 all the way to qualifying to the international leagues when they win Ascension? We're going to have to wait for the answer to that question. But now let's go to question number 9, which I think is kind of interesting. Will teams prioritize good players or entertaining players? The reason I think this is a valid question is because content might be the focus for Riot in the international leagues. Because if you take a look at this section again in the 2023 Partner Teams announcement, it does say that Riot does respect and celebrate past competitive performance, but it was not a key consideration, right? They also said that they focused on an organization's ability to create the most compelling VCT for fans. Now, obviously, it's great if you can have good and entertaining players, but they're a rare breed. So if teams have to choose, which stat will they max out? Is it okay for a team to be so bad that they always finish last, but then they're entertaining as hell and fans around the world love them? We'll see. And last but not least, the final question is, where am I going? Well, I'm... Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Go comment something down below. Let me know what you think about the video. Let me know your thoughts about the video. So, yeah, I'll see you guys around. I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching again. And don't forget, check your corners.